Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back here to do another review of AMC's The Walking Dead Season 7. This time it's all about Episode 10 entitled New Best Friends. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that Richard is going to last very long in this series because Richard has some good ideas as far as this whole March to War storyline is concerned, but unfortunately Richard is reckless, and I feel like once everything pops off, Richard will be the first to go if the Saviors don't come back and get him. Just saying. So let's just get down to this review. So the opening scene involves Ezekiel, his men, and Diane all waiting for the Saviors to show up because they have the supplies that the Saviors request. Well, as soon as Jared, the long-haired guy, got out the car, I already knew there was going to be some drama, despite the fact I saw this scene earlier more than once on YouTube and then on Talking Dead, etc., etc. So, the next thing you know, Jared says something to Richard. Both of them turn their guns on each other. A fight ensues. Morgan gets involved. Ben gets involved. Ezekiel tries to defuse the situation by telling Richard to give up his gun. He won't do it. Gavin is able to tell Jared to put his gun down. But then Jared kind of swings at Richard, and that's the reason why Morgan and Ben had to intervene. So at the end of the scene, pretty much Gavin tells Ezekiel again, just like he told him in episode 2 of season 7, that if this mess keeps happening, Richard's going to be the first to die, or as Gavin basically said, and I can paraphrase it, he said something about batter up. In other words, Negan's going to show up and bash this kid's head in. Like, you need to get a handle on him. So Ezekiel tells Ben later, and before I get to that part, Jared took Morgan's staff, which was really mean, and I hope that Morgan is able to get it from Jared either when he's alive and Morgan whoops his behind, or he's dead and Morgan just takes it from him. Either way, I want Morgan to get that staff back. So we get to the scene with Ezekiel and Ben, and Ezekiel's telling Ben, just because you know how to fight doesn't mean you should seek one. In other words, dude, you just started to hone your skills, calm down. That gives me the impression that, like Richard, Ben is not going to be around for very long. Because Ben is far too innocent, and I've been saying this since he first appeared. This kid is not going to last very long. Daryl is upset when he sees Morgan, and he knows that Morgan went to see the Saviors. And he's just like, you know, if Carol were here, she'd be leading us right to the Saviors to kill them all. And Morgan's like, yeah, she would have. But that's also the reason why she left. So Richard entices Daryl to help him by giving Daryl a new bow. And he tells Daryl, you know what? I need your help. We both want the same things as far as this fight with the Saviors. We need something to move Ezekiel. Because, you know, Alexandria, the hilltop, and the kingdom need to hit hard first. We need to keep people safe. So they travel on this road where the Saviors, like, ride up and down a lot. And Richard's idea is to hit them with guns and Molotov cocktails. Richard talks about how he left a trail from this area to a weapons cache that he planted in the cabin of this person who he could care less about. Now, we already know it's Carol, but we're waiting for Daryl to put 2 and 2 together in this scene. So Richard goes on to say that this cabin inhabits a woman that Ezekiel cares about. She's a loner. She lives out there, and she's going to die out there either way. And again, it doesn't seem like Richard even cares about this person. And Daryl kind of puts 2 and 2 together, and he's just like, you know, who is this? Who is this? Daryl realizes that the person that Richard is talking about is Carol. And Richard is basically saying, this is how we can get rid of the Saviors. His plan. This is how we can have a future. And Daryl's just like, stay away from Carol. So all of a sudden, Daryl and Richard start fighting. Another fight breaking out. And Daryl knocks the hell out of him, hits him in the face. And then the next thing you know, they turn their weapons on each other. And Richard's like, we need to make a move soon. He was like, Carol is on her own. She might as well be dead already. And Daryl's like, if something happens to Carol, I'm going to kill you. I don't care if she sneezes, has a cold, if she passes gas. They didn't say the pass gas part. I'm still going to kill you. So Richard said he's ready to die for the kingdom. And Daryl's like, well, why don't you die for the kingdom yourself? And I'm just like, exactly, Daryl, exactly. So back at the trash dump, the new crew emerges, and they come out of like this shipping container, walking around like a hive of bees or a group of insects, until they end up circling around Team Family twice, because there's like a small circle and a big circle. Rick meets the leader, who says, we own your lives. We want you to buy them back. And Rick was like, I don't want to talk about anything until I see Gabriel. And we see Gabriel, he pops up, he's shirtless, he has like a white tank top on, and he looks unharmed, but he's a little bit afraid. This leader says, we took your stuff and then some. And Rick is like, listen, the Saviors own our lives. You have their stuff, we are their stuff. If you kill us, they will come looking for you. Pretty much, Rick is like, either the Saviors kill you or they own you. Please join us in fighting them. And Jadis, the leader, is like, listen, no, I'm not doing that. And the next thing you know, this mini fight breaks out where it's Team Family versus some of the trash people. And all of a sudden, Gabriel grabs something sharp and puts it to Tamuel's throat and says, the Saviors have a lot of stuff. Whatever you want, they have it. Join us and we can beat them together, and you can have what's theirs. Rick can do anything. What do you need? We'll get it for you. We will show you what we can do. And Jadis decides to tell two people, Tamuel and Breon, to show Rick something called the up, up, up. And I'm saying to myself, what the heck is the up, up, up? Well, while the rest of the crew is kind of ushered over to, and by crew I mean Team Family, is ushered over to the side, and they're forced to watch and wait, Rick is at the top of a trash heap with Tamuel, Breon, and Jadis, and he catches a glimpse of the view, and Jadis is talking to him, and she says, our group takes, but we don't bother. Time has passed. She was like, maybe we change, but we need to know that you, Rick, and your group are worth it. And the next thing you know, she pushed him off that pile, and I was just like, oh my God, and I tweeted Rick with all these exclamation points. And I think it was a gif of one of the characters in Modern Family going like this. Oh my God. I immediately thought the worst in that scene, but I was wrong. Michonne was pissed off, as everybody was pretty much pissed off. Rick emerges in the scene at the bottom of the trash heap and assures Michonne he's okay, and then this spiky walker packs out, jumps out, and I'm cracking up like, oh my God, what is that? Rick immediately engages with it, and his hand is impaled, so it starts bleeding. It's not looking good. He's trying to climb to get away from it, and he falls. Michonne tells him to use the stuff that's on the walls and fight that thing. She, again, motivates the hell out of him for what, the third. Rick ends up stabbing the spiky walker and killing it again, or at least putting it down. And then Jadis has this rope sent down so that Rick could grab on and climb back up the trash heap. So pretty much this new group wants a lot of guns, and then they will, quote, fight the group, Team Family's fight. Rick says, we will win. So Rick is very confident, and I'm confident in Rick, not only because of the fact that I know what happens in the storyline in the comic books, but also because it seems like this is going to be a really good fight, and that Team Family and the Kingdom and Hilltop and this new group and probably other groups are all going to emerge victorious, but not without a bunch of casualties, though. I'm still warning you guys of that one, because a lot of people are not going to be prepared for all-out war, and I'm preparing you now. It's going to be very bloody. So Rick says, we'll give you 1/3 of the guns, but we will take back what you stole from us. And Jadis is like, well, we'll give you half of the jars that we took, plus we want the guns, and then they end up making a deal. We learned that Jadis and her people were waiting by that boat that was filled with supplies that, remember, Rick and Aaron traveled on over that, I'm going to call it the moat of walkers, to get to that boat, and things went really bad in the mid-season finale. Thank God that both Aaron and Rick emerged safely from that mess. But anyway, Jadis revealed that her group takes, but they don't bother. And the spiky walker was once known as Winslow, but I think they also still call him Winslow. So she tells Rick, listen, you got to go now because your deal is going to expire really fast if you don't. And again, the leader's name is Jadis. So the group gives Team Family back their weapons, and Rick emerges talking about a deal, all bloody. Everyone's smiling. They're happy Rick is okay. And Michonne runs up and she hugs him. And I'm like, this is what we needed. A heartfelt moment after all that violence and blood, but there's still blood coming down his hands. And I really think with that limp that Rick had and then that cut on his hand, that is a nod to the comics, because in the comics, I'm not going to tell you guys what happened, but Rick does have a limp, and he did lose his hand in the comics. So I really feel like they're trying to tell us something in this writing, or they're trying to give a nod to the comics. Either way, it's a pretty big sign that we all need to pay attention to. So in another scene, Carol comes outside of her house and she sees Ezekiel, Jerry, and the men. And Ezekiel says that, and by men I mean the knights, that they were clearing the walkers out of the area, and Jerry gave Carol some cobbler. I'm just like, dude, I wish somebody would give me food like that. Like, that is awesome. Ezekiel is pretty persistent. He really likes Carol, and I'm like, that whole situation is really cute. But then another thing cute happens in this episode where somebody knocks on Carol's door after she settled down to read a book, and it turns out to be Daryl, and it's such a bittersweet reunion. It's so sad. And Daryl explains to Carol what Morgan had said, and he said that he saw Carol outside of her house and he just came to see her, and he asked her why did she go, and she said because she had to. So Gabriel explains himself to Rick as the trash people, I'm calling them the trash people, bring out the supplies that were part of the deal that Rick made with Jadis. And Gabriel said he heard something outside of the gate. One of the trash people jumped him, and they made him pack up the stuff that was in the food pantry. Gabriel said he was about to lose faith until he saw Rick and the crew. Rick said he wasn't mad that Gabriel got them to these trash people because it's a whole new group that can help out with the fight. Gabriel is happy that Rick nodded at him and that Rick knew that Gabriel didn't just leave, and Rick searched for him. He and Aaron and Tara and Rosita and Michonne searched for Gabriel. Gabriel says, we will set things right, but things are going to get very hard before that time. We have to hold on. Gabriel asks Rick what made him smile, and Rick says, someone showed me enemies can become friends, and that someone was Gabriel. So Rosita wants to go out and look for more guns and be reckless, and at this point, this is not the time to do that. And Aaron is against it, Tara's against it, and she's kind of telling Rosita off, and Rosita's kind of being a little bit irrational, and the next thing you know, she tells Tara to grow up, and I'm just like, what is it with these, like, you know, weird lines that Rosita is saying? Because Rosita always seems kind of level-headed, and it seems like in season 7, Rosita has been messing up a lot. So I don't know what that is nodding to at this point, but something bad is going to happen to Rosita. I'm not saying she's going to die, because I have heard some of the spoilers, and I'm not listening to every spoiler because somebody told me that Brienne was the leader of the trash crew, and they were wrong, because the leader of the trash crew was Jadis, and Brian was a middle-aged dude in the scene. So Tara says that they need to regroup and get Rick stitched up, which is why they're going to head back to, I believe it's Alexandria, and then head back out. And Rick says something to Tara along the lines of, you were out there so you can tell us where we can look. And all I can think of in this scene is Oceanside. And I do remember the women told Tara, do not return. But you know Tara is going to end up having to return, or Rick and the gang are going to return some way, somehow. Because that group is going to have to join in on this fight. So all of a sudden, Rick grabs the wire cat that we saw in the beginning of the episode. Because remember that we saw like a wire cat and like a warthog made of like metal stuff. And people are probably wondering, what significance is this wire cat? Well, it shows that Rick has been paying attention to Michonne for a while since, and hopefully I'm getting the episode number right, Season 4, episode number 11, Clear. Remember when Michonne and Carl were walking together because Carl needed to get a crib or something, and he ended up in that bar, and Michonne went back into the bar because she thought the cat was so, like, this monochrome color painted kitty thing was cute. She went back in and she got the cat. So he gave her this wire cat to replace the one that she lost at the prison. That was another cute scene in this episode. Pretty much, Carol left Alexandria because she couldn't lose anyone anymore. She just couldn't do it. And that's what I figured, obviously, and that's what they revealed to us in the last couple episodes of season 6. And she says that she would kill the saviors if they had hurt anyone from Team Family, but we know that they did, but Carol doesn't know. But once she did that, there wouldn't be anything left of her, meaning her humanity, her morality. She would just become cold. So Daryl reveals that the saviors came to Alexandria, but he doesn't tell her that anyone got hurt or died. What he tells her is that we got them, we made a deal like Ezekiel and the kingdom did. Everyone is all right, but we know that is not the truth because Spencer's dead, Olivia's dead, Glenn and Abe are dead. Daryl was kidnapped by the saviors, and poor Eugene, who we will see in tonight's episode, episode 11, was also taken, and he's currently at the sanctuary. And a lot of people have been asking this week, was that a good move? And I'm just like, I don't know, because on the one hand, it's good because it gives Carol peace of mind, and it's something positive to tell her because it would really tear her apart. But then you have to look at it at the other side, like, how will she feel when she finds out? And will she feel upset because she wasn't told and she could have joined this fight earlier? See, again, I don't know how to feel about that scene, honestly. Or about whether or not he should have told, and by he I mean Daryl, should have told Carol all about what was happening and what had happened. So Daryl leaves Carol, and he tells her to watch out for herself, but I really wish he had warned her about what Richard had done. But I guess Daryl realized that Carol can take care of herself, and obviously, we all know that she can. So Daryl's sitting down, and he's bonding with Shiva, and I thought that was so cute. And Morgan comes, and he kind of commends Daryl. He's like, Ezekiel should be here to see that you and Shiva are bonding. And Daryl's like, well, any guy that has a pet tiger can't be that half bad. So apparently, Daryl changed his mind about what he said about Ezekiel. Morgan said that he told Daryl what Carol told him to tell everyone. And Daryl's okay with that. He understands it. And Daryl tells Morgan that he has to make the kingdom join in on this fight. And Morgan's saying that it can't be him to do this. And Daryl's like, whatever it is that you're holding on, it's gone, dude. In other words, that whole all life is precious thing went out the window when he had to kill that savior, when that savior was attacking Carol. So pretty much Morgan's going to have to get with the program because they're going to have to fight these saviors. because these saviors are out of control. Morgan says he knows that Daryl didn't tell Carol what happened because Carol is not with Daryl and is not walking around in the kingdom, because we already know if Carol knew what was going on, Carol would be Andying up already. She'd have her guns, her knives, whatever. And just like Daryl said that Morgan is holding on to something, so is Daryl. So Shiva rubs her head against Daryl's hand, and that was another cute scene. I know that Shiva isn't real, obviously, and she's computerized, and I've seen some comments where people were complaining about how she looks, but there's only so much that the show can do to create this character, as it appears like they spent a hell of a lot of money to make this fake character, and I knew they wouldn't be able to get a real tiger and not have to deal with animal rights or I was going to say Shiva, or PETA or anything to that effect. But Daryl decides in the end that he's going to head back to Hilltop. And I'm like, I understand what he's doing, but is that a good idea? Because Rick wanted him to stay at the kingdom because the saviors are looking for him. And is he going to get, is he going to meet up with the saviors on the road? Like, I know Daryl can handle himself, but I'm just saying, like, something might happen. I'm wondering, you know. When it comes to the second half of the series, it feels like the writers have not only created a new storyline with the trash people, but they're also continuing to remix what's in the comics. But again, this season is closer to the source material as far as the writing more than any other season. But I cannot wait to watch tonight's episode, episode 11, because it's all about Negan and the Saviors, and it's been a minute since we've seen Negan, and it looks like Jeffrey Dean Morgan has a little bit more on his face now, some whiskers, and he looks more friendly, because in that mid-season finale, he was scary looking, and I like Jeffrey, but he was scaring me. I'm like, dude, like, you look really scary. But anyway, I'll be back to review episode number 11, and I will be reviewing 24 Legacy. I believe that's episode 5, and episode 10 of Emerald City. So you all take care. I love you all. Bye, guys. I can't wait to watch tonight's episode. Bye.